Hello, guys. Good day to all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching me from. My name is Gina Amy, and this is my page. If today is your very first time seeing me, yes, I am here and I am Gina. And on this page, we educate, we entertain, we inform. Mostly, we invite people to join us, share their experience with us so that we can all learn from. Especially you watching me, you looking to probably, travel through education. So, yeah, that's about me today. I have a very special guest, and he's Jude. Okay, let me bring Jude. He's going to join us. Um, how are you though? How are you guys doing? I hope everybody is doing well. Hi Jude, how are you?
Yeah, hello Gina. I'm doing great. And you?
Good. Yeah, I am doing very well. Thank you. Okay, so guys, meet Jude. Jude is currently a student and he is doing amazing. He's doing amazing. And I would love for him to share his experience with us and how he was able to secure all the scholarship he has. Okay, that is the most important thing, which is why I always advise that listen, if you're young youth out there, if you are currently in school and you want to study abroad, why not try to up your grades so that you can probably come with a scholarship? It's okay if you get a lower, but like if you can put in more effort to get second class upper or first class, that is awesome. So yeah, Jude is here to tell us about how he secured all these scholarships. So Jude, all right. So again, welcome to my page. My name is Gina, and thank you so much. I really appreciate the fact that you agreed to come on this show. I am very grateful. So could you please tell us about yourself?
Okay, I'm Jude Quarry. I come from Ghana. I come from a town called Tongo in the Upper East region of Ghana. Yeah, I've had most of my education in Ghana, and currently I'm a PhD student in material science and engineering at the Georgia Institute of Technology in the US.
Okay. So wow, a PhD student in the US. What program did you study in Ghana? What school did you go? Do you want to go there? Like, tell us about the school you graduated from and why you finally decide to come to the US.
Uh, okay. So I did my undergrad in KNUST, Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
Mm,
I studied materials engineering in Ghana. Uh, I would say I I I stumbled upon materials engineering. It's by chance. I wouldn't say it was a mistake, but it was by chance because I didn't know what it was. And many people I meet, both in Ghana and here, I tell them I'm studying something called material science and engineering, and they are like, "What's that?" But then, so it means most people don't know about it, but it's an amazing program. Everything starts with the material, and especially like in the engineering phase of things, whether you have your mobile phone, whether you have like building materials where you live, whether the clothes you wear, they are all made up of some kind of material, whether it's polyester, it's a fiber, it's an electronic material, it's a semiconductor. So it's amazing. And so I got into materials engineering. I never knew about the program. I didn't want to study materials engineering, but then I got admitted to materials engineering. Um, and throughout my time in KNUST, I'll just say, let's say it's by providence. Maybe that's how God wanted it. Or, yeah, I ended up being the best student in my class from the first year, and it continued throughout. And I began to like the program. I began to like the program. I began to appreciate what it was, and then
okay, so
I
when you
just
say
decided
that,
to apply to grad school.
okay, so Jude, when you say that you stumble upon that program,
hmm
how do you mean by that? Initially, what did
mm
you have in mind? Like what program? You know, growing up, everybody knew something that they wanted to do, right? So initially, what did you want to do, and how did you stumble on it? Is it that somebody introduced it to you? How did it come about?
Okay. That's great. Um, so growing up, I always wanted to be a pilot.
Uh,
I love planes. I had a lot of toy planes. Lots of young boys growing up probably have toy cars. I had toy planes. And I love them. Now, when I went to high school, so I went to high school in Ghana. I went to high school in Ghana Secondary Technical School. Yeah, so that's GSTS in Takrade.
mm,
And it's a very tech focused school. Um, I had two parts: either I become a pilot or I do something engineering, right?
engineering.
And
Okay.
so I never liked the medical field. My mom is in the medical field. My sister, quite some part of my family is in the medical field. They
Mm,
wanted me to be a doctor, but I didn't want to. Um,
okay.
so I went to GSTS, and I realized I learned that to be a pilot you need like 100% eyesight, and I wear glasses, and so it was a big bummer to me. I couldn't become a pilot,
Okay.
and so I said, okay, if I can't become a pilot, maybe I make the planes, right? So I wanted to be something like an aerospace engineer.
Mm.
But yeah, there you learn quickly again that the industry in Ghana is not very profound. And so
Oh,
most people who do like aerospace engineering in Ghana end up maybe working with drone technology or working with the Air Force or moving
okay.
out. And I was
Mm,
like, okay, maybe that's not the best. So maybe I do something more broad. So I wanted to do mechanical engineering, and we have a track in GSTS when I was in school, like in second year. I did something we call technical science. So instead of studying biology, I studied technical drawing with my other electives: physics, chemistry,
okay.
elective maths. And
Mm,
so by your second year, you have to choose between civil engineering drawing or architecture
okay.
and mechanical engineering drawing. So I chose mechanical engineering drawing, and I was like, okay, it was quite hard, yeah, but then I still had like a, how do we call it, a head start, because what they were teaching us was what they were teaching in the universities, right?
Okay.
And very few schools have that combination. I think in Fantipin, my school, and a few others. So I had a head start, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do mechanical engineering. So I applied to schools. I applied to tech. um, and then I also liked something HR stuff because I became like a prefect and an executive. I was quite involved in some stuff in high school, and I was like, maybe I want to go into business, right? And
Business.
so I applied to University of Ghana to do administration. I think, yeah, something related to human resources, and I
Okay.
got in. But then I think my heart was more into engineering. So
Engineering. Okay.
tech tech came, but then my dad told me that he has heard that the hot programs in engineering are electrical engineering. So I should take that as my first choice. So I took electrical engineering. I didn't want to do it. I took electrical engineering, then I took mechanical engineering second, and some others. Now what happened was, and that's why I said I stumbled upon it, because when our results were released, our results were withheld. So when WASI results were released, my school's results were withheld, and they said they suspected we cheated, blah blah
Oh,
blah. Yeah, because we blew the
mm,
papers, right? And so there was a lot back and forth, and then they released all the results except chemistry.
okay.
Now, like, if you are going to study engineering, like chemistry is like a major
You
thing.
need
You
it.
can't
Okay.
do without it. And so based on the results that I had, my dad was like, it's possible you not get electrical engineering, because that time electrical engineering was the hottest program, and you needed to get like 8 A's or something. And
Hmm.
so he said, let's change it to make your chance. And tech gave that option for you to change at a particular time your choices. So materials engineering was never there in the first place.
In the first
But
place.
then 1 month before the admissions would come out, they gave that window,
Introduce.
and then I
Okay.
changed it. So I took mechanical engineering first, then I took materials engineering second. I didn't know what it was, so my dad just went to his friend who was a professor, and he gave him a list of courses. He said chemical engineering, architecture. I was like, no, no, I don't like this. And then I said, this sounds okay, okay, but I didn't know what it was. So second, I chose it. Now, the good thing for me was that I had written off deck in the second year,
Okay.
so I had added my off deck to my WASI result for admission. And so when it came, like they released our result, and I think the same week the admissions came.
Okay.
And then I got into materials engineering. When I got the text message, I was like, oh, mechanical. It started with M, so I just scribed it. And I was like, no, no, this is not mechanical engineering. I was pissed, but I said, okay, the life happens. And so my sister went online to go search on Wikipedia, like, what is materials engineering? And then they said, okay, these are people who do a lot of this fun stuff and they earn a lot of money. I was like,
Okay.
okay. Uh, and so I just decided to go do it. Now, what happened was it's a lot, but eventually we learned that decided to punish my school because of that thing. So most of our students didn't get into universities because
Oh.
they withheld the chemistry from the universities who needed it to do awaiting admissions. So then I
Oh.
used my enough deck to come. And so in
Okay.
my class, we were only two guys from my class who went to
Mm.
tech. He did it mechanical engineering, and I did materials. And then the other guys had to come the following year. But that's how, because probably if they used the chemistry, I'd have got into mechanical engineering because I had an A1 in the
Yeah.
WASI. But yeah, it just happened.
Okay. And when you started doing the program, you realized that it's something that you like.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. All right. So going through tech for 4 years to
yeah.
do the material engineering, what did you have any goals? Did you intentionally lay down certain things that you would like to do right after school?
Mm.
And with that said, I would want to know that when you were planning, right, did you think that after school you were going to get a scholarship and go to a different country to continue this very program?
Okay, so these are interesting questions, and yeah, my let's say initially it wasn't in my plans,
Okay.
right? But then my life has been a lot of like ups and downs and unexpected twists and turns. So in my second year, I'm yeah, I would say I'm one of the unique students in the program because there was a program, we had something, it was an MOU between KNUST and a school in Korea called UNIST, also National Institute of Science and Technology, when I was in my second year. So I was there and I just had a call from the head of department who said they have this, how do you call it, connection with say, a school in South Korea, and then they need to nominate a student for an exchange program.
Okay.
So was I interested? And then I didn't even know what an exchange program was. But then I accepted, and then I spoke to people. I spoke to my older brother, I spoke to people. I was like, okay, it's a good idea. And then I didn't have a passport. We had to do a lot of things. But then yeah, so I went. So KNUST, we were only three students who were selected for the exchange program. And I was the only one in second year. The others were in third year, electrical
Okay.
engineering, business administration. So I went to South Korea for
Okay.
6 months in 2019. And then I think that's where because yeah, we all understand like Africa is a bit backward in terms of like technology. And South Korea, like Samsung is in South Korea, they have like the world's leading in comparison with the US, like electronic material, semiconductors. So I learned a lot. I did a lot of like lab work and stuff. And I saw like what materials engineering can do for the world and like
Yeah.
can do for the country if we are able to put things right.
Wow.
Um, and so when I came back, it was in my mind, and some of the lecturers told me when I came back, oh, maybe you could just go back to UNIST and do a master's, right? But then I had an advisor, I had like a supervisor when I was in UNIST. And that professor, before I left, I had a conversation with him. We talked a lot about materials and stuff. and then we talked about future, and he told me, maybe you would be interested in grad school, but don't come to UNIST. Maybe you can go to any other school in Korea, or maybe even go to a different country where you have the potential to explore, but don't come to UNIST. So many people were telling me, "Oh, go back to UNIST," and I was like, "Okay, this man said I should explore."
Yeah.
So, but still, it wasn't really in my mind. Now, another thing happened in KNUST. We had something, a Mastercard scholarship called a 3+1+1. I don't know if you've heard of it,
I
where
know.
like
That's right.
students would apply in their third year to go to Arizona State University in the US,
Okay.
right, to finish their final year and do an accelerated master's for 1 year, and get like a dual degree, right?
Wow.
So they get like their bachelor's from KNUST in Arizona, and then they get their masters from Arizona.
Okay.
So, okay, so I think they told us about this in first year. So I went to the seminar, and then the head of department came and said, "Oh, this is this thing." I think it was at that point that I was like, "Okay, maybe this is why I came here, because it's an interesting opportunity." And the cutoff was that you have to learn hard, and you need to get like a first class, right?
Okay.
And that was like first year. I think we hadn't even written any exam. So I was like, okay, maybe I need to study hard so that maybe I'm in a chance for this. And that was before this UNIST thing. But then I went to UNIST and came back before this program, because we were supposed to be at start applying from third year. So in third year we applied. We went through various stages. Unfortunately, I got to the final stage, but I wasn't selected by the Arizona State University. um, and it was very hard. But it was during COVID, and like everyone expected me to go, but then I didn't, and so it was a bummer. And I think at that point, I didn't know what I wanted to do again, like whether I wanted to go to grad school or I wanted to work in Ghana. And then I had some opportunities, for my national service, to work in an oil company in Ghana. And so that kind of drifted my mind to maybe not deciding to travel. But yeah, I had to make these, like, I think when you get to your final year and stuff, you have to make tough decisions. So
But
at
I
that
guess
point,
it
I
was
was like,
really good at the oil company because for you,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, I knew someone there, and they promised
okay.
me like a year before, and you just had to write like an aptitude test, and once you get
Yes.
in, you are there for for till after national service. You don't have to care about being like continuing, and the
Yeah.
pay was good and everything. But then my department also wanted me to be a TA, and it was a back and forth. It was very hard, but then I decided to be a TA. And once I decided to be a TA, the next step for me was to travel, because it would be easier for me to go that way. And for graduate school, you can just show that you have teaching experience and all of these things, and it would help. I can get recommendation letters. So that's how I just went forward.
Okay. Oh, amazing story. All right. So now let's come to the application process to the first school you went to.
Mhm.
Did you do your own research? Did somebody make recommendations? How did you find the schools? Was it a research program you
The
did?
UNIS program I went to,
No,
the one I
after
went to South Korea.
no, after South
Okay.
Korea, after you had graduated from
Okay.
KNUS.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So after after graduation, what did you do next? I mean, you did your now you were a PA, right?
National. I was,
After
yeah.
yeah. So right after you know teaching, what
Mm-hmm.
else did you do?
Okay, so while I was teaching,
Mm,
I was working with a nonprofit. It's called Black Sisters in STEM, and I think
okay.
Emmanuel said he mentioned it to you. So
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of things with like women in STEM and all of
Understand.
those things. I joined as a content team lead. So I did social media management, and then I did content creation. I designed flyers and stuff for our events, and then I did the event moderation. I was like event coordinator. I did a lot of things.
Okay.
Eventually, I was promoted to community and programs lead. So I was managing like the community because we have like an online community,
Mm,
um, getting members in, doing outreach. And this organization was based in the US. It's Black Sisters and Sisters based in San Francisco. And
mm,
so I used to be in a lot of virtual meetings during my tiership, doing all of these things. And then also organizing programs. So we wanted to, the goal of the organization was to upskill like Black girls in STEM fields, right? Because like even here, like some of my classes, I think one of my classes, you just have like two Black girls like in the PhD program in my this thing. And so
yeah.
and they are even Black Americans. There's no African Black girl there. And
Oh,
so um like we try to, they feel left alone, and then we try to give them the skills. And so we connect them with the CEO worked at Google, and so she
okay.
had connections, and so you connect them people from Google, Microsoft, Unity, to teach them some skills and then some practical things to actually be successful, and then all of those things. So I was working that, and then I was doing my tiership. But then I think so. I wanted to apply to schools, and then there was this thing called the Scholarship Access Project, by a certain Kojo Educhum, who is like a nuclear engineer in the US, and he was helping Ghanaians to apply to schools. He would let you write some mock exams, both undergraduate and graduate stage. So you write like mock SAT or mock GRE exams, and then after some stages, if you pass all the stages, they would register you to write and help you apply to the schools.
Okay.
So I did that, and I did a lot of things. Like I was doing joining clubhouse events.
Oh,
There's a clubhouse room called Fancy Republic. They are very top guys there. I don't know if you know about it.
no.
They are Ghanaians in the diaspora, and they really want to help people if you are
People.
smart and you're up for it. So I joined one time, and then they got to know about me, and like they said I was brilliant and stuff, so they wanted to help me. And a
Wow.
certain lady is called Loretta. So she introduced me to the Scholarship Access Project by Kojo Educhum, because like he was part of the Fancy Republic. And
Mm,
so then I went through all the stages. I passed the GRE mock examinations. And so we're supposed to write the final GRE exam, but unfortunately something happened and we couldn't hear from them. And so my plans were at a standstill. This was around November, late November to early December, because my
okay.
plan was to write the GRE in December and apply to schools.
Mhm.
And so I didn't know what to do, and I didn't have money to write the GRE. And so my plans were to stand still. But then when I graduated, I made a LinkedIn post. It blew up. And so some people like just messaged me, and they were
Mm,
like, "Oh, you're brilliant. We want to help you," stuff like that. Do you want to consider graduate school? I was like, yeah. So there was this particular, a lot of people reached out to me, a lot of people helped me, but there's a particular guy called Sixtus Agure, and he, I think, currently is a postdoc in University of Iowa, I think. And then he organized like a Zoom meeting with me. We talked. I didn't know much about the process, so it's like, okay, this is
mm.
how you do it. And I was like, oh, I wanted to write the GRE, but right now I can't write it, and I don't know what to do. And so
So,
he's like,
Jude, not to
yeah.
cut you off, the people who were reaching out to you on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
were they Ghanaians or people all over the world?
Yeah, some people were Ghanaians and some weren't, but most were Ghanaians.
Do
And
you
like they were
mind?
Ghanaians in the diaspora.
Okay, do you mind telling us what the post was about? Because most people, I mean, I am on LinkedIn, but I don't use it that much, right?
Right.
So LinkedIn has been able to, open a great opportunity for people. So
Hmm.
it is something that I think people should look into or
Hmm.
be more consistent on. Like, people like Facebook, right?
Yeah.
So if you like, if you're able to put in more work on LinkedIn like you do on Facebook, I think it's really going to do good for you, right? It will bring
Yeah.
good opportunities in your way. So what was the post about?
I agree. One day I said that the day I started spending more time on LinkedIn than Twitter, changed a lot of things about my life. So yeah, LinkedIn and Clubhouse, I've got a lot of opportunities from those two.
Okay.
So I talked about my job with Black Sisters in STEM. It came through LinkedIn. I made a
Okay.
post about an internship I had done virtually with Forage. And
Okay.
then the CEO reached out to me and said, like, okay, this was great. We are trying to build this for our organization. Can you help us? And that was how I got in.
Wow.
And for the graduation post, so basically I graduated. I was excited, and so I posted a couple of my graduation pictures, and one with my mom. And I think I just looked back at the picture, and then I remembered something. So I told you I went to high school in GSTS, right?
Yeah.
But then I come from the Upper East region. I come from Tongo. I used to live in Bogatanga. Recently, I was looking at the map. Those are two ends of the country, right?
Yeah.
And so when I got admitted, we had to travel to Takrady.
Mm.
And on our way from Bogatanga, it's the journey is about 18 hours, but it's always more because of stoppages, right?
Yeah.
On our way, we got to Tamale, which is like 2 3 hours from Bogatanga, and then our bus got spoiled, right?
Oh.
And then we had to change buses. We waited for like 2 3 hours, nothing was happening, so eventually we had to change buses. But the bus they brought to us was smaller than the original bus we took, right?
Mhm.
And so some passengers said no, they should give them their money and they go take a different bus, but we had to be in Takrady like the next day. And so
Oh.
we had to go. Now it came to a situation, the seats were less than the number of people. So some people had to sacrifice their seats. So what they did was they brought some seats on the aisle, right? For people to sit on the aisle. But
Yeah.
still that wasn't enough, right? And so again, because we are traveling from the north to the south, and at that time there was just one bus, STC, which goes from Bogatanga to Takrady every week. It goes on Saturdays. And so what happened was we had people like buy foodstuffs. Like it was crazy. Like the bus was full. And so what happened is, especially when you get to Tamale, there's a lot of yam there. People bought a lot of yam. So what happened was they used the yam to line up on the aisle together with some of the small like plastic chairs they had put on the aisle. And so what happened was my mom was like, we have to give some of the seats out, or we have to give one seat out.
Okay.
So you sit on the chair, and I'll sit on a sack of yam,
Oh.
right? Till we get to Takrady. And that was crazy. So I remember like just I don't know anything I would say. She wouldn't listen. So she's like, "Oh yeah, it's fine, it's fine." And so when we got to Takrady, I remember I took a certain picture of us. We got there around like 5 a.m. and I would never forget. So when I graduated, I was actually looking for that particular picture, but I couldn't find it. So I just had like a picture of my mom. And with my mom when I graduated, I had a lot of awards, and so I took a picture with all my awards and everything, and then I made the post, and then I talked about this story that
Yeah.
I'm happy that I made my parents proud, and like this was one of the first steps. It's not like there are no schools in Bogatango and they're closer.
Yeah.
I wanted to go far, but I also wanted to gain some different experience, and it has helped. And so like people were touched, people loved it, and
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
people just reached out to me.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow, guys, if you have a story to share, sometimes all these are like inspiring, right? It's we'll say testimonies as well because when you look at where you're coming from and where you're headed to, there's so much to say. So it's always good to sometimes post your stories or talk about what you have been through. All right,
Yeah.
so now let's continue. So you can check him up on LinkedIn. Is it only so you're on LinkedIn and where else?
So like many LinkedIn these days, I don't go on LinkedIn much because LinkedIn is
What
becoming a lot for me.
social media platform do you spend much time on?
These days I try to to stay away from social media
Social
because like
media, yeah, yeah, they're
the
busy.
PhD is
Yeah,
PhD in,
it's
but
no, I know.
so LinkedIn, I think Twitter, because these days I just want to have fun. I just want to
Yeah,
listen to news. I follow
yeah,
soccer a lot, so
yeah.
and news.
Okay,
I follow education Twitter and football Twitter. So
okay.
I learn a lot about AI and all of these
Mm,
things from
mm,
Twitter. And then Clubhouse. Clubhouse was really amazing. Like you could literally meet Warren Buffett in a Clubhouse room.
wow.
Um, and I learned a lot from Clubhouse, and like you go to this like this Fancy Republic and other rooms I mentioned, you meet people who just want to help you if they know about you. And
Mm,
so what even made like my LinkedIn what it is today is because I joined a Clubhouse room where they were teaching people about how to build your LinkedIn, right?
okay.
And there were top people like LinkedIn top voices who had 100,000 followers and everything
Mm,
on there to do like live LinkedIn reviews.
wow.
And one of these ladies from the Fancy Republic was there. There were two. I don't know if you know Mami De here. She's also in Canada,
Okay,
right? Yeah,
okay.
Mami De here is in Canada. She's a top LinkedIn voice. She has a lot of
Wow, I
followers.
need to reach out to her.
And then Loretta. So I met these people, and then they evaluated my LinkedIn, and then they told me do it this way, do it that way, do it. Because people check your post and then they check your profile, and like everything else speaks, and then like it goes from there. Because of that, I think even later on when I work with Black Sisters in STEM, I got Mami De here to come and speak to our girls for
Mm,
one of the events. So it's just like the connection and everything. So you
yeah,
leverage all of those things.
right.
These days, I'm not on Clubhouse. I think I need to go back there, but
Hmm.
LinkedIn is big just for the connections and for
Yeah.
yeah sharing your own story. You never know who sees it.
Okay. All right. So now let's continue from the part where somebody offered to help you with the application. Now you wrote your GRA,
I
GMA.
didn't write because um we didn't hear from the scholarship access
Oh, right.
project because of
Yeah.
whatever problem. So he told
Mhm.
me, this man who reached out to me told me that there were schools which were waiving the GRE, and it was possible that even if I
Oh,
want to write the GRE, I because I had stopped studying for a short period. So
mhm.
maybe by the time I finish writing, deadlines would be passed or something. If I
Yeah.
wanted, and yeah, it's not even about that. You will not get a date.
Yeah.
So he was like, because it was in December and most
Mhm.
deadlines are either in December or January. So he was
Mhm.
like, just look for the schools waiving the requirement and apply,
And
and
apply.
I'll pay for your application fee.
Oh.
So yeah, it was intense. It was crazy. I used about 3 weeks to do all my applications. I applied to about 8 schools.
Mm.
So I applied to 8 schools. I got into four of them, two masters, two PhDs. Unfortunately, none was funded. I didn't get a scholarship. Um, and one of the schools which really caught my attention,
Wait, not even for PhD
not even for PhD.
in the US?
Now it was crazy. I
Wow.
got into University of Alabama in the US, and I didn't get a scholarship. Now the thing is, that was my first application. I applied for it in November,
Okay.
but that was my last offer. It came in May or June or something. Or was it April or May? It
Because
was
I
so
know
weird.
that for the masters and PhD, mostly it's within April, no,
Mhm.
March and April.
March. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even now,
So yeah,
like
so
early
May is quite
admissions,
late.
some come in January to
Yeah.
February. Yeah, it was weird. Like I didn't understand. And so when I thought about it, I was like, maybe that's why I didn't get a scholarship. Something happened along the line. They didn't review my application early because typically they give the scholarships as they review.
Yeah.
So if they reviewed mine last and they have given all their scholarships, and I don't know, and sometimes I just say all these things to say that maybe God just wanted me to come to Georgia Tech because it doesn't make sense. So but then I really wasn't pursuing those schools, right?
Mm,
I somehow got an opportunity to apply to Oxford, right?
okay.
And so that was again from LinkedIn. So I was just on LinkedIn looking for opportunities, and
Yeah.
then um, Godwin, who is now a very good friend of mine, he was the vice president, no, the president of the African Oxford
Mm,
Students Association, and he posted and he said, if you're an African, you want to apply to Oxford, there's an opportunity. So I applied. It's a mentorship program. Then they give you the waiver and you apply.
Okay.
So I did that, and then I applied to Oxford for a PhD, and I had interviews. I had two interviews. They were grueling interviews. They gave me a paper to read the paper, analyze it, and do a presentation the next day. So like within 24 hours, they give you a paper today, then tomorrow you have the interview. Um, um, so I had two interviews. The second one was really nice. The professor loved me. Then he said he would recommend me, and then I'll hear about scholarships by end of March.
Mm-hmm.
But then I didn't hear anything by end of March. I didn't hear anything by end of April. I didn't hear anything by end of May. And I reached out to him. I reached out to him, I think by April, May. I didn't hear anything. Till June, I think I heard from him in June or in July. And then he sent a long email. Was like, "Oh, Jude, I'm sorry. You were on the wait list." So what it is that, and I learned a lot of things through this process because,
Mm,
especially in the UK and like schools like Oxford and Cambridge, they have specific scholarships for specific things. If
okay.
you're an African student, there are specific scholarships. So when you're applying, you talk about your program, your demographics, and everything, and they'll give you a list of scholarships you're eligible for and stuff like that.
Mm.
Now, I wasn't eligible for a lot of scholarships
Mm.
because I just realized that, especially for African students doing STEM, maybe we are not favored in the UK as much,
Mm.
right? They would rather fund other programs like maybe public administration, political economy, MBA, and things like that, right?
Okay.
Now, so they have the any scholarship. It was for people doing international relationships. That one, international relations, they give it to two students. That one from West Africa, and I know a guy who won it the previous. I know the guys who won it for the last 2 years. They are Ghanaians, right?
Yeah.
And then some other programs, but for like my program, there was really nothing like that for me. So what it was is that I either get the funding from the department, and the department gives scholarships to just three international students, and they are the best. They rank
Yeah.
them, and
Yeah.
then they give to the three top international students. For those from the country, yeah, they would find their ways as well. And then if you are not part of the top three, and then your supervisor has some funding, which is like their own grant or something, and they give it
Yeah.
to you.
They give it. Yeah.
And that's what happens a lot, like in the US, and I know in Canada, professors, most departments don't fund students. It's the professors who
It's the
fund.
professors, yeah. Which is
Yes.
why you have to first do your professor research,
Yeah.
right? And you look at their area of research to see
Yeah.
if
And
it's
then you email them and all that.
exactly. Let's
Uh,
let's quickly talk about that. So just on the 15th, most schools were closing application for masters
mhm.
and PhD. And I always
Mm.
post on my page, I tell them that, hey, listen, if you are looking to apply for a scholarship or even a master's program, this is the time. For postgraduate diploma and, the certificate programs, even till now, it's still open.
Yeah, they don't
But
really care.
yeah, masters and PhD, it's open from uh, maybe October and it closes in January. So when you
Mhm.
have to do it, you have to do it fast. And looking for professors, sometimes you may email people and they may not even respond to you,
Yeah.
right? And so you have to, that is where you start from. So tell us what exactly you did. I just want you to tell us the process, like,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so you've mentioned a good point, like reaching out to professors and they're not
Yeah.
like replying you and all that.
Yeah.
It happened with me. So you see, I told you in 20, so like I applied twice, right? I applied for two cycles, and that's
Yeah.
how I got in this time with a lot of scholarships. But like in my first cycle, it was I did all my applications like in 3 weeks. And so this man, 6'2", he told me about the fact that I could like reach out to professors, right? And so we drafted a code email. I reached out to a number of professors, and some replied me and like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
already have students, or I'm not taking students this year." Some didn't reply me. But I also realized that I was doing it late because it was January.
Oh,
And
right.
in
Yeah,
my
that is
second
it.
year, I realized like,
Yeah.
Charlie,
I mean, first come,
um,
first serve.
yeah, like
Yeah,
people have been hot long before you,
exactly.
right? And there was a particular professor in University of Illinois who said, yeah, like if I'm admitted, he would love to consider me. And
Mm,
so I got admitted into that school for a master's, right? but I made a mistake. I didn't reach out to him early
Yeah.
because at that time I got that offer like I think in February, close to March, right?
Mm.
But I didn't reach out to him at that time because Oxford said the scholarship will come by end of March. So I was waiting. And I didn't want to reach out to him and then you say come and then so at the point I realized I messed up and I could have pursued some other things, but yeah, I was waiting for Oxford. So even for Oxford, and that's one thing I realized. For Oxford, I reached out to the professor after I had applied because some of the big schools like Oxford, MIT, Harvard, they don't really care whether you email them or not.
Okay.
They have a way they are going to pick their students,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Um, but then I read out to him. So after I made the application, I read out to him. I was like, "Oh, hello, professor. Like, I really read through your work, and it's exciting, and I want to work with you. I hope that when I'm invited for interview, we can talk, and I'll learn
Mm.
more about your work." It was a very short. It's one of the
So,
shortest
yeah.
emails I've written.
Yeah.
And I thought he didn't see, he didn't reply. But when I went for the interview, he told me that it's because of that interview that he wanted because the professors choose who they interview. It's like
Yeah.
it's because of that that he's interviewing me because like he really loved it. And when he went through my CV and my stuff, like he's never seen someone with such a diverse skill set and also experience,
Mhm.
especially coming from Africa, because how many
Yeah.
African students would apply to Oxford? Like
Yeah.
to do that program, especially again because of like the funding constraints, right? So he was really impressed and like that's how it went. But then eventually, so those didn't work. But I was still in contact with him, and so I
Yeah.
applied to Oxford again
Mhm. Mhm.
to go last year, and then I got in with the scholarship this time. But what happened was I was applying to other schools because now I learned that I don't put all my eggs in one basket, and I have to apply early. And so I started reaching out to professors like from September, right?
Yeah.
And I had a code email draft. It went through. It's gone through more than 10 iterations or reviews, and
Mm.
I have a short framework that I use, and I'll just briefly share. You just introduce yourself, right? Um, you are dear professor. You introduce yourself. You are who? Like you state your value up front. What makes you unique? Like I was the best student in my school, and I wasn't mentioning it till one of my guys saw it and said, "Ah, but
Tell
you, why are
them.
you doing that?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, but I want to be humble."
No, 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 no,
Right.
no.
I was like, yeah, because like these professors don't have time, right? So you have to capture them. You have to
Yeah.
capture their attention. So
Yeah. Wow.
I put it there. I was like, oh yeah, I'm a first class student and I
Yeah.
was the best and blah blah blah. And I want to work with you. In the second paragraph, I'll say what about your work interests me and like where that fit is, where does it align, and be specific. So like if you are doing something like electrical engineering, don't say, oh, you're working electrical engineering, I'm excited about it. What in electrical engineering? So it's like, oh, I'm interested in like the power systems and maybe PCB design, something specific
Wow.
that
You
you
know,
know
I know
that they do.
about PCB.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I work with a company. We produce discount monitors for
Okay.
pharmaceutical companies, and so we use the PCB board, their boards,
Mm-hmm.
right,
Yeah.
and MCUs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know about all
Printed
of that. That's
circuit
what
board.
I'm
Yeah, yeah,
saying.
yeah. Aha. So you see, that's the point. Like, the
Yeah.
person you are writing to has to relate with what you are saying. If you are
Mm,
too broad, it doesn't make sense. You have to say something. And like some of these professors, like some of my interviews, I had to go even on YouTube and just search their name, and I'll
mm,
find their video or their something,
mm.
and then I'll read about something. I'll listen to it and find something like they are really excited about, and I'll talk about it. Like that's the thing, and like many people don't pay that attention to detail like when they are crafting things like this. So like I just say where it aligns, then I talk about my own experience. I'm like, oh, so I did ABC, maybe this project in this area, and I learned ABC, maybe some particular skill or something you think is useful to them, and then you say, okay, yes, so then this is why I want to do grad school. And
Mm.
then I think one paragraph I wasn't including, which I found that's very important, was that the next paragraph, especially in STEM, I'll talk
Mm.
about a paper they wrote, right? So I'll
Mm.
go and look for a paper they wrote that I'm interested in, and it's probably similar to what I'm doing or what I
Yeah.
want to do. And I'll say, oh, and the goal is for you to break down the paper in like two, three sentences.
Okay.
So I just read the paper because you don't want to talk plenty. It's an email. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I read your paper on printed circuit boards, and then you talked about this novel strategy that you use, and you mentioned some few technical terms in there that you use to do this. Then you now say what you think about it. So that, oh, I think that this process is very efficient. It doesn't only contribute to sustainability, but it is also very fast, and maybe ABC can also be done to make it better. This is
Wow.
why I want to join your group. Then the
Okay.
last paragraph, I'll
Mm-hmm.
just propose an interview. And this is also a big paragraph I was including. Because you just say, oh, I want to know if you have research assistantship. Let me know. Nah, you have not
No,
done
no,
anything.
no, no.
Many people do
Guys,
that, you know.
I hope you are paying attention to this. This guy is teaching us even how to send emails to the professors. If you're looking to apply for a master's program, a PhD, okay, you need to get your book and jot this down. Don't come back asking me questions.
Yeah.
Okay, Jude, go
So
on.
so so the last paragraph, you propose an
Okay.
interview.
Yeah.
You tell them up front. Um,
Okay.
I would like to discuss my interest and your work further. Would you be available in the next couple of weeks? That's what I always say. In the next
Okay.
couple of weeks
You give
to
them a
have
prompt. Yeah.
a chat over Zoom. And then you
Mm.
talk about your availability. You have to show them that you are busy. So you tell
Yeah.
them that I am available on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I told someone to edit this, and they said I'm available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then why
There.
are you writing it? No, you have to give some gap. You have to say,
Yeah.
oh, I'm available on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, or
Mm.
Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays between
This
10
part,
a.m.
wow. I
to
like that.
4 p.m.
Okay.
But I am flexible about
Okay.
my meeting time in case
Fine.
you can't
Yeah.
make it this time.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I'd love to hear from you soon. And please find attached. You always attach your CV and your transcript. That's
Mm-hmm.
all. And
That's
then you
all.
leave the rest to God.
Hey, wow. I
So
really like that. Wow.
yeah, and it's quite unique. But maybe
Yeah.
now I've shared this framework with a number of people, so maybe now maybe it's becoming common. But it's very unique, and professors see it and they are excited and they'll schedule. I got interviews at Cornell, Oxford, Georgia Tech. Yeah, many schools, McMaster University in Canada. Eventually, I just decide where I want to go, but it works. And the thing is to start early. I started this draft, like as I said, I started sending in September and I wasn't getting replies. And I had a guy who I was teaching the process. I had been a TA, but now he had completed school and he was going to be the TA of my professor. So I was teaching him applications and he was using the template and it was working for him, but not for me. And I didn't understand, I was like, is it house witches or something? But you see, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The thing is, if
Mm.
you feel like there's something you tweak, right? And
Yeah.
I think that middle paragraph where you talk about your experience and how it aligns and all of those things, you can tweak it a bit. Maybe I talk about this project, and that's why you need a repertoire of things you can talk about. If you've done only one project or something, you don't have anything to say. That's the only thing. But then I changed the story a bit. Then I changed this a bit. But then I realized eventually that it wasn't just me. And sometimes we think it's just you. It's a you problem, but it's not a you problem. It's the professors. The professors were busy between
Mm.
September and I got to the program and I realized it. September, October, professors are going for conferences and stuff. So what happened was professors I had emailed in September and October replied me in November and December and said, "Oh, Jude, oh, I'm so sorry. I had been at this conference. I was so busy.
Mm.
Oh, but unfortunately, I would have really loved to have you as a student, but I don't have funds for this year." It's still a
Wow.
nice reply. And then
Yeah.
someone would say, I was really surprised that Professor Cornell, who, if you're in the field, he's a very top guy. This
Mm.
semester, he's coming to my school, and I'm really excited to see him. He replied me, he's an old man, he's almost retired, and he said, "Oh, Jude, I'm very sorry I couldn't reply to you early. My parents had to move to a certain new location, and I had to pack with them." And after he was explaining a lot, I was like, "You don't have to explain yourself.
Yeah.
Like, And he said, "Oh yeah, I would love to meet you." And then we met like two, three times.
Yeah.
It was amazing. But then
Mm.
because he told me he was about to retire soon, and so yeah, yep. All right. Yeah. So he told me he was about to retire soon, and so he will probably not be recruiting students. But it was a nice experience. So, like, yeah, the emails really help, especially for STEM, especially for even non-STEM, but STEM again because of like some of the cutting edge research that's happening right now. You can really get in, especially if you reach out early.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. So, guys, obviously, this is the most important part of. I mean, it's all good, but this take note of this thing that we just spoke about, the email you're drafting to send to all these professors, because if it's catchy, that is where they even reach out to you. Okay, so
Yeah.
when you're reaching out, be sure to show them your uniqueness, what you can do, tell them what you know what makes you unique, tell them everything about it. Okay, now, so finally you got admission.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what's the name of the school again?
Yeah, so I'm in Georgia Institute of Technology, and it's also called Tech, right? And so, like,
It's also
people
called tech. Oh,
compare, like, yeah, oh, we are coming from tech to tech, but yeah,
yeah.
this tech is a different tech, right?
Okay.
And Georgia Tech is the best public engineering university in the US. And all engineering programs are in the top 10. It's an engineering school. It's a top engineering school. Now, talking about emails, I just wanted to mention this. So my current supervisor, I
Mm-hmm.
emailed her, like, I emailed all the professors in September. She didn't reply me. And then I emailed her again in November. I didn't even know, and it's so funny. I don't know, but yeah, it's so funny because when I emailed her in November, I didn't remember or realize that I had emailed her in September,
Mm.
right? But then I emailed her in September because I think that the draft that I had in September, I tweaked it a bit, and I think I wasn't talking about their paper, right?
Okay.
That
Right.
paragraph where I say talk about the paper, I wasn't talking about it. So
Yeah.
then I emailed her again in November, and then I talked about the paper, and then I did everything. And then
Mm.
she replied me. And it was so funny because I was with a friend that day. That time, like things were working. Like I emailed the professor at Princeton, and Princeton is one of the top schools. He replied me within 10 minutes. Then I was emailing this professor who is also very top here in Georgia Tech. She's the school chair for my department. And then I told my friend, he was with me, and I said, "See, I'm drafting this email to this professor. She's going to reply me." And then I sent it. She didn't reply me. I slept. When I woke up the next day, she replied me, and then I
Okay.
showed it to him. But I didn't realize that I'd emailed her before. So I think when I came here, I was going through our emails and then I realized I had emailed her like 2 months
Mhm.
before or something. So
Yeah.
what changed? Maybe she was more available at the time. Maybe it was something about the email. But
Email.
yeah, it
Yeah.
just shows that sometimes it's not about you. Like things happen and sometimes people just send one email and then they just get discouraged. But it's
Yeah.
the consistency, it's the
Consistency.
persistence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's it.
Okay, guys, if you're watching and you have any questions, please bring your questions because I'll have to leave him very soon. So do send me your questions so that we can go through it before Jude leaves. So, what do you think attracted them the more for you to get that scholarship?
Okay, the first thing is the profile, right?
The profile.
No one wants to work with someone who had like a pass and doesn't have like any experience or skills.
And
Even
obviously,
like
you're a first class student,
yes,
right?
as a first class student, I was the best in my class. I had the skills, but again, I could communicate it. Some people are
Yeah.
first class students, they don't know how to communicate
Yeah.
what they know.
Mm.
And that's a big thing. I think the next thing is like my application materials were very good. The second time I was applying, even the
When you
first time
say
they were good.
application materials, how do you
Yeah,
mean?
what I mean is like my CV,
The CV,
my transcript definitely you
yeah,
that one you can't change anything. It's there, it's
yeah,
there. But
your
then my CV,
SOPs, yeah,
my SOP, my recommendation letters. I had to
mm-hmm.
tailor my recommendation letters. I tell the
Yeah,
pro. Some of them made me draft it and I drafted. and some. But again, it's all about that. If you had a good experience or relationship with these people, and you categorically selected, I know if I select this person, this is what the person is going to say because this
Mm,
is my relationship with this person. You can gauge what they are going to say.
mm,
And so all those things came out, and like especially the ones you can control, like the CV and the SOP.
yeah.
A lot of people like helped me review them. Eventually, when I was applying the second time, I had a mentor from Cambridge, Yas Kotnik, a very top guy. He was doing a PhD in aerospace. Now he's working in Germany,
Wow.
and he helped me review a lot of the materials. I again through LinkedIn, a certain Nigerian girl, Amulika, she connected me to a guy in Harvard who is doing a PhD in electrical engineering. Right now, he's finished and he's also going to be a professor at Stanford
Mm,
this year.
wow.
Thierry. And Thierry helped me review my CV and my SOPs. I had a professor who was a mentor from some MIT program. He's called Corey Benz, and he had just finished his PhD and was working at the national lab. Now he's going to be a professor this year as well, University of Virginia. So I just like by that time I had the materials, I tweaked a bit and I'll just send them out. And like once you get to that point where like the material is there and you have everything to say, they'll just review and just say, okay, maybe change one or two things, but you're the kind of person they are looking for. And just so like at the point, because when I started writing these things, it was very bad and I have lots of corrections, but it gets to a point where like they're like, oh, it's good or just
It
change A,
becomes,
B, C.
yeah,
So yeah, I think all those things help. And again, applying early, applying early. The last thing I'll say is like the schools, because you have to align with the school.
exactly.
Like Georgia Tech is a top engineering school. If you are
Mm,
coming to apply for medical or something here, or they have public policy, they don't fund
mhm.
public policy a lot because it's not what brings them the money. It's the engineering that brings them the money.
Okay.
Now, the other schools like Johns Hopkins, they have materials engineering, but they also are very focused on health, medical field. So
Okay.
if you apply for medical field, and even in the program, the the specific research you are doing, right? Because like Hopkins, their research is in medical. So even if you are doing material science, your research is going to be more bio related. Now, if
Mhm,
I want to do something which is about construction, because materials is broad, you can do something construction. You
mhm.
apply and your SOP, you have to be very specific. That's another thing people don't understand. They are very vague in their
Yeah.
writing, but I have to be
Okay.
very specific. So if I'm specific and I say, well, I want to do something construction, blah, 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 they'll be like, nah, this is not the place for you. We don't
Yeah.
have that. So you need to look at all those things. And sometimes, yeah, it's just good to look at people you know, people who were maybe your tears, people who had gone ahead of you and
Mhm.
are in these particular schools. And then you look at that and say, okay, maybe if this person got here, maybe I can also get there. But then you can also just reach out and ask them how they did it. But fields are different, and a
Yeah.
school that I can get into because I'm in this field, someone else might not be able to get into, and all those things. So it counts.
Okay. Okay, great. So now, the program that you are, so currently you're doing the material engineering.
Yeah,
That's what. So what are some of the, is it the courses or the programs that you love most about the whole program of
material science
material?
engineering.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think almost everything is lovely materials engineering. So materials engineering, when you in KNST, you learn about the history. It is an amalgamation of chemical engineering and mechanical engineering, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So you do, and if you go down to the core, it's a mixture of physics and chemistry.
Okay.
So if you don't like any of the two, you can't.
You
But
can.
again, I think it's more tilted towards the chemistry, but there's also physics there.
Okay.
So um we currently like in the PhD program, my research is on like developing organic semiconductors for solar cells. And the thing is like, yeah, we all like renewable energy, we all want solar energy. But the materials that we are being used, we are thinking about them that Some of them contain most of the efficient materials now. They are made of lead. They are perovskite materials. They are made of lead, and lead is toxic. It's not good. If we give everyone a lead or a perovskite solar cell, and then they use it in their houses, in the next 10 to 20 years, they are not good again. We want to throw them away. It's going to cause a lot of pollution because lead is toxic. So my research is on developing organic solar cells. Organic, they are made from biodegradable material. So we synthesize polymers. Polymers, they are chemicals in the lab and they'll put them together. Like polymers are literally plastics, but then we do stuff to them and then we can use them in various applications. So I like polymers. I like polymers. And again, that's the thing. Like Georgia Tech is a very polymers bias school. So I'm doing like two core courses like related to polymers. So if you are someone like related or interested in more metals research, it's good. There are some professors here, but if you are doing polymers, you have an upper hand because we like the polymers we would get you in. So I like polymers. I like composites. So composites are like a mixture of two or more different classes of material. So we have metals, polymers, ceramics. You can mix. So composite is a mixture, but then yeah, when you mix, you get the properties of the two. So
Okay.
especially like in the aerospace industry and all of those things, we want lightweight, but we also want strength. Now most lightweight materials are not strong, so you combine and all of these things, and a lot of things come in between. Um, I also like corrosion a lot. And there's a lot of money in corrosion because corrosion is a big problem, like rusting. Rusting causes lots of problems, but we study how to prevent rusting, how like rusting even occurs, and like the various things that go into it. It's really interesting. I loved it. It was one of my favorite courses. So these are some of the things I like. And then computational material science, that's just about using computers to actually develop these materials. Instead of going to the lab and doing trying and error a lot, we can play with these parameters on the computer, simulate it, and then get the best thing that we think that will work, and then we do it experimentally to confirm.
Okay. Okay, great. So now, so from Ghana, you came, I'm just going a little back.
Mm.
You came to do a PhD because the a program that you did was 2 degrees. That is a degree and a master's. So you just came to do a PhD. Is that
I
correct?
didn't no. So the thing is, I didn't get into the degree and the master's program. I didn't get into the Arizona State program.
Yeah.
Yes. So
So
like after my undergrad, so the only program I did in my undergrad was the UNIST one, which was an
the
exchange program, but it
yeah.
was still part of my bachelor's degree.
And so you
So
were able to just get into PhD without having to do a
yeah,
master's
without
program.
having to do a master's.
Okay.
Yeah, and like especially with them, it's possible
That is
because
why I just wanted to know more about, because I didn't know that you could just, after your bachelor's, you can just get into a PhD program without having to do a master's.
yeah, you can, yeah,
Wow.
for most schools, but like when you're applying, you have to always check the school's requirements.
Yeah.
But most schools and most programs in STEM, like electrical engineering, materials, most of the engineering, you can do it because um, the thing is that most master's programs are not funded. It's difficult, right? And
Yes.
so it's difficult and it's competitive. It's more competitive because you probably have to be at the very top, and some schools want to um, be able to evaluate that competition by doing what? By requiring GRE and other things, because
Other
that's going
things.
to help for them to see who's really top, because they
Right.
have limited money. And the thing is like it's the PhD, it's the research, it's the long-term research that brings the money. Right. And so if I do a PhD for like 4 5 years, I can do more work that can contribute towards a grant. Right.
Mm.
Now, some professors split their money between masters and PhD students. So I had one of my mentors who became a professor, and when he was looking for his first students, instead of like picking one PhD student, he split the money to
The
pick two
money.
master students. So it
Yeah.
depends. But that's why again, like you reach out to the professors, they can tell you like what way. So you tell them if especially even masters, you can say, oh, I want a master's, and they'll tell you, oh, maybe I have money for just a PhD student, or maybe I can still pick you. So those things happen. But typically, if you want to do like a direct BSc to a PhD, you have to check the requirements of the program. Especially in the UK, it's really rare, but Oxford
Mm.
has it, and so I was able to
Okay.
get into that. And like Cambridge has one we call the CDT. It's called doctoral training center for doctoral training. So that one you kind of do like a 1 year transitional masters and then continue the PhD. And for like us who do like a direct BSc to a PhD, we typically do 5 years. If you have a master's and you're coming to do a PhD, you can finish within 3 or 4 years, depending
Mm.
on you and your work. But if you are coming from a BSc, you have to do 5 years because you do your first 2 years of coursework,
Mhm.
which is more, how do I say, aligned to you getting a master. So 12 here, like you can do, if you fulfill certain course requirements, you can get a master's and a PhD, and you can actually get a master's in a different program than your major. So my major is like material science. I have to take a minor, and if I take enough courses in the minor, maybe in electrical engineering, I can get a master's in electrical engineering from Georgia Tech, and then a PhD in materials engineering. But yeah, it's possible, but you
Okay.
have to have like high credentials, and
Yeah.
then typically it's about research because a PhD is about research, so you have to show that you understand research and you can do the research.
So, guys, throughout this interview, you have realized that Jude has given us lots of universities. He has mentioned so many universities, so many people that you can link up with. Okay, Jude, somebody is asking, can we have your email if somebody wants to reach out to you? Is that possible?
uh
Or
yeah,
should they send you a
yeah, these
message
days
on
I don't check my
LinkedIn?
email much, but yeah, I can, or even LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is the best.
Okay.
My name is Jude Parry on LinkedIn. They can find me on LinkedIn. But
Okay.
my email is just parryjude24@gmail.com. So Parry Jude. So Parry is KPARE. Then Jude 24, the number 24 at gmail.com. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Great. Jude, are there any? So what are some of the general challenges you find yourself in as an international student,
I think
specifically
number
concerning the
one.
program you are doing?
Okay. I think number one is the weather. Um, Even though Atlanta is cool, I know Canada is terrible.
Uh,
Atlanta is cool. Atlanta is not too cold, but it can get cold. And these days, like this week, it was -8 degrees Celsius, and I had to go to the lab. I wasn't in the mood. But yeah, weather. I think the good thing about being in Atlanta is there's lots of black people. Yeah, we settle, and it's really cool.
mm,
Um, there's lots of community, like depending on wherever you are. If you're a Muslim, you find a Muslim community. A Christian, there's many different Christian communities. There's some Ghanaian churches and all that stuff.
mm,
I haven't had too many challenges. I think the studies is
it's just
school
like,
school is
okay.
stressful.
Well, you're intelligent.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Like like we are all intelligent. Like if you weren't intelligent, you will not get here.
I mean, you're
So
very good in your area.
no, but still, like that's the thing. You have too many people good in your area, like in the same class, and
Okay.
so even that, like we get out of class and like everyone is stressed. It's too much information. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's too much information. Something you'd probably cover in like a whole month in maybe Kenya, say your undergrad. You cover it within like a week because you meet twice, and like a week you can do so much that you
Yeah.
need to just go back, and like they assume you know, or you're a PhD student, you can figure it out. So like they just leave it on you. But those are the things. And yeah, being away from family, you miss them. And
Yeah.
then there's the food issue, which
Yeah.
is a major problem. But I cook most of the time. But yeah, sometimes like when I was in Ghana, I wasn't cooking as much. Like my sister and stuff, they just cook.
Yeah.
But yeah, now you have to be a man, or you have to be independent. So those are the
Yeah.
things.
Okay, so Jude, if you don't mind me asking, how long? I mean, hey, how is it? Oh my goodness! Like within what period or how long is it going to take for you to complete your school? How many
Finish
more
my
years to go? How,
okay,
sorry.
okay. Oh, I
How
have
many
four
more
more
years to
years.
go?
I have four
Jeez.
more years.
For you. Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, what are your? Do you mind telling us what are your plans after school?
I don't know. I
You
don't
don't
know.
know now.
Many
Okay.
people ask me this question. I don't know. There's many different parts. Many different parts. I would definitely become an entrepreneur. I have things going which I want to build on. But yeah, I've not been known to be a man of one trade. I'm very diverse. I do a lot of things at the same time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I could be a professor. I don't know. I could work in industry. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, I could do a lot of things, but yeah, that's a good thing. Like the PhD gives you the option to do many different things. But
Jude,
at the
our
end of
time
the day,
is almost up, right?
yeah,
Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you for now. So with this material engineering, like after school, if you want to work in a field, what kind of job does it provide? Or what kind of areas can you work?
a lot of areas. So your friend Emmanuel, he's working. He did corrosion engineering, and so he's working with like these people who do these pipelines and oil and gas. You can
Yeah.
work there. There's something called NDT, non-destructive testing. Materials engineers do that. It's a lot of money. Yeah, you can work as a professor. Um, as a professor, you can work in chemistry, chemical engineering, material science, because it's very broad, mechanical engineering, biomedical engineering. So you can work in biotech because you do dependent, especially for a PhD, depends on your research. So my research it's more polymers. But recently, we had a career fair, and Novelis, I don't know if you know, it's a company. It's like the biggest aluminum manufacturing company. And then they are stated here in my state. So I met them and I was saying, oh, my research is in polymers. But they're like, oh, don't worry, you can apply. It doesn't really matter because we do a lot of metals, but you have like the intellect and you can apply the processes. It's not really a big deal. So it cuts across. You can work in the metal processing industry. You can work in like even right now there's a lot of battery technology and energy things going. So like that's my research, like energy, solar cells, all of these things. You can work in plastic manufacturing. You can work in even like electronic companies like Apple. One of my lab mates is interning now at Apple. You can work in Microsoft, you can work at Tesla. So it's a lot. You can just go anywhere. Pharmaceutical industries, they use polymers there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. You can go anywhere you want,
Okay,
depending
great.
on the opportunity that comes and all.
Comes your way, right? Okay, so guys, this you know we have to end this interview, but I really wish I could bring Jude here again because we didn't get everything that we needed to get. Okay, but yeah,
Yeah.
today it's been 1 hour already, so I'm just gonna let him go. Jude, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, because on my page this that a lot of people who are in these areas like engineering and whatnot, right? So
Right.
this interview, this information you have given out is very good. And guys, just if you just came, somebody was asking if you wrote GMAT. I guess he's late.
No, I'm STEM. I didn't write GMAT. I
Yeah,
wrote GRE
yeah,
like
I
in my
know he's
second year. I
late.
wrote the GRE, but it didn't
Yeah,
matter. So
yeah, he came late. So if you are just joining us, please go back, watch the whole video to understand the things you need to know. Okay. Yeah. So Jude, guys, and this is
yeah,
also to tell you that if you are in school and you're planning to apply for a PhD program, if you want a scholarship, especially when it comes to these areas, you need to work hard. Okay. And this goes to you who is currently in school. You are currently doing your bachelor's. All right, Jude, is there anything you would like to tell everybody who is watching before we sign out?
I just wanted to make like this correction. So I remember initially when you texted me, yeah, you were asking about the caption and stuff.
Yeah.
So I got into five fully funded PhD programs this year.
Wow.
So it was Oxford, Georgia Tech, Rensselaer Polytechnic, McMaster, and then University of
When
Tennessee,
you say
Knoxville.
Mac Master, because like I am also like I'm a purchasing like I do all the purchases for my company, right? I did procurement as well. So MacMaster is a company that I buy from, I purchase stuff from. So what school is MacMaster? It's
It's
M
in it's
C M A S T E R. MacMaster. I buy stuff from there.
yeah. This one is MCMASCR. It's a university in
It's
Canada.
a
You don't know?
university. No.
It's in Canada.
Okay.
So yeah,
Wow.
so I think at the end, yeah, I had to three of them were very tough, like Georgia Tech, McMaster, and then Oxford, because all
Mm,
of them I had spoken to the professors and like they really wanted me to come. And they were in three different countries. So Canada, US, Oxford. It was hard, but then I think I chose Georgia Tech.
okay.
Sometimes I don't even know the reason, but I feel like I felt more comfortable here, and like the lab mates really. I spoke to them; they look really nice, and I spoke to the professor. She's really caring and nice, and so like, and she
Yeah.
was. I think she was the only female too, and she was really nice. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And that's all you want to say to anybody who is watching?
Okay, yeah. So I was just making a so for anyone who's watching, I'll just say like you should work hard. It's not easy, and like you see people share their success stories and stuff, but you don't know what they did together. You have no idea. And sometimes like when I did my first round of applications, I did get to schools. Like people I was literally like better than or like higher than in class. Like got schools. There was a girl in my class who was like a second class lower, and she's doing a PhD, and she came that year before I came, second class lower, and like people, and that's the point. Like people, I don't know, people would compare you to other people and be like, oh, but like this girl class come and you're there, and what. But like it doesn't really matter, and like you should be happy for people when they are successful and work
Yeah.
hard to also get your point. And if you need information, as you're saying, like right now it's the most important currency in the world. You need
Yeah.
information, you ask people, but there's ways many people have done things.
Yeah.
And if you finish with like a lower or a pass, there's many different ways you can go about it. You can do a West evaluation, you can do a quick masters, and then you can pay to do a masters in Ghana, but you know your end goal. Your end goal is to do a PhD, right? Do a master's in Ghana, do it well, get your
Do, yeah.
thesis, apply for a PhD, get fully funded, and you
Yeah.
can pay that money that you use for the master's in Ghana within like a year or something.
Yeah.
So like just I think people should just work hard, but also they shouldn't compare themselves with others and shouldn't like listen to the opinions of other people if they know what they are about.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. And everybody watching, I we have a lot of messages from Intiamwa. Yeah, he says Jude is very resourceful. That is very true.
Yeah.
Hi, Mohammed. Hi, Kofi. Nana Kwame, Emmanuel Obiri. I see you all. Thank you so much. Evelyn Sama, Nana Prempe. I see you all. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. So, Emmanuel, I'm just going to leave you now. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm just, yeah, but I will talk to you. I will talk to you. So, yeah, I'm just going to, yeah. So, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Again, I am Gina, and this is my page. Do have a great one. And please, if you're watching me, do share my video. Thank you and have a great weekend. Bye bye.